Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today we got Royal Marines forging the Arctic Commando. And this looks like it's definitely going to get intense anytime you're talking about the Marines. They definitely don't play around. So with that being said, what's smoking on my dragons? Divine Righteous, Almighty Greats over achieving, never slacking. And you could bet your last dollar that the Royal Marines is never slacking. So, original link in the description. And this comes from the channel. Let's see. Let's get the channel name here. Well, Royal Marines. Royal Marines is the channel. So we're going to go ahead and hop right into it. Here we go.
We know that we train in the harshest of environments and we don't stop when the weather gets bad.
In order to survive, just to survive, your drills have to be world class.
I think the most important thing is survivability, being able to outlast our enemy.
Every moment you're in the Arctic, it is trying to hurt you or kill you.
Before we even go any further, that's what you call training right there. Y'all remember the movie Rocky when he went out to, I think he went to like Russia, and he was out there in the cold, in the snow, training with logs and, he was just doing all type of crazy stuff. But that's how he ended up winning his fight. Man, when you go and put yourself in some rough terrain like this, man, you're going to become a beast.
So training in Norway not only prepares you for battle and operations in the high north, it prepares you for operations all over the world. My early experience was I passed out of recruit training. A few months later, went to Norway, done a really hard, arduous Norway, and then the next again winter, I was in Afghanistan. So the skills to keep warm, to still operate when the conditions are bad, were all learnt from Norway. And that's been a real solid foundation to my career in the Royal Marines. If you take the worst case scenario, say a peer adversary has taken ground in the high north and 3 Commando Brigade as UK defences experts in mountain and cold weather warfare, we'd be sent in first, sort of pave the way for the remainder of the force. We'd look to hit softer targets, so logistical nodes, small teams that are out and about enabling greater actions, forward air controllers, drone operators, and targets that can be hit that have maximum effect. Now, without shelter, without food, without water, the enemy is severely restricted in this environment. So if we can take out that support to the frontline enemy troops, we're going to be doing a good job.
We've got a long history with Norway in terms of the formation of commandos, and some of the very first operations in World War II were conducted up and along the Norwegian coastline. We've been meaningfully training in the Arctic, in Norway, for over half a century. And
I didn't know that. Over a half a century, so they're used to this. This ain't nothing new. They know exactly where to go out there. They know exactly how to set out the game plan and everything. I didn't know they was doing this. Had no clue. Wow, tough guys.
it's that sort of collective experience which we see distilled down into our mountain leaders. And it's one of the reasons why we can take people relatively unfamiliar with the Arctic and very quickly train them up to a good standard.
So mountain leaders are the UK defence specialists in Arctic and mountain warfare. To operate in the mountains, it takes a combination of really extremely difficult skills. So amphibiosity, you've got cliff assault and reconnaissance. Now, doing that in the mountains is extremely difficult. Doing it in the Arctic is just as hard, if not harder. Our secondary role to the operational side of things is to train the rest of 3 Commando Brigade in those skills. So Arctic and mountainous warfare.
Ultimately, right, it's only you, now that you're in that situation, that's going to get yourself out of it. So by being proactive, being in a non-permissive environment, which is the way we should be thinking, putting as much distance between you and that enemy right before you even start to consider what to talk about.
I heard a few lads back on camp talking about how arduous Norway is. I've enjoyed the whole course, I'll be honest. Some lads will think a lot differently. Some lads have never skied in their lives. It's the first time they've put skis on. That in itself is a challenge. And then as soon as you add a weapon system, your battle kit.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Like, I've never been skiing. And to have to do that for the first time in such a serious environment, like, I'm sure nobody wants to be that person to mess up and let the team down. I'm sure no one wants to be that person to be coming in last, or the person other people have to pull weight for. But, like, no. So, man, that's rough for the people that never skied, and just, it's rough, but at the same time, it's like I stated earlier, it's gonna make him a beast.
Yeah, and also a Bergen to that. It starts getting really, really difficult.
So there's many dangers that come with working in a cold weather environment, particularly Norway. The rate of cold weather injuries, if you're untrained, would be extremely high. You just need to look back at previous wars, and large chunks of forces were brought to the knees through just cold weather injuries alone, through maybe a lack of food, which would then cause a lack of energy in the body, and then hypothermia. Hypothermia goes hand in hand with frostbite. Operating out here, it's not only the snow and the cold, it's the mountainous environment. All this is conducive to bringing a force that is normally operable all over the world to absolutely inoperable if they're untrained. There's a few different types of shelter we can use. The first one, if you're in the tree line, is a brushwood shelter. They're quite time consuming to build, so like a lean-to using branches and wood, stuff to insulate you from the ground, block the wind. The other one is a quincy, so if you've not got that much snow, you could pile up snow in a big mound, flatten it all down and dig into it, and it's essentially a snow shelter. I tend to use and teach as much as possible either a snow cave, so digging into sort of heavy snow bank. It's minimal hours to construct, minimal effort, but you're out of the elements, totally out of the elements. The temperature outside could be minus 20, but inside with a candle on, maybe a 4-man team to heat the inside space with a candle, you're looking at about 0 degrees.
For Royal Marine Commandos, Norway is in our blood in that respect. It's always been one of those almost rites of passage, rightly or wrongly. There are some instances where you probably don't feel like a real bootneck until you've done a Norway.
the icebreaker drills, I mean, that's a thing that everyone really affiliates to Norway in general, jumping in that ice cold water, getting the shock of your life.
Could you imagine how cold that water is? Guys, if you've seen my community tab, yesterday I posted the river. You know, it's snowing out here, and I posted the snowy river, and I was freezing. I walked to the store and back, and that was cold. Like really, really cold. I couldn't imagine actually having to jump in that river because that's pretty much what these guys are doing. They like, whew, I mean, tough, tough, tough. But like the guy stated, this is a rites of passage. If you ever seen Dragon Ball Z, this is their hyperbolic time chamber. This is what makes them Royal Marines. So salute to them. Whew.
So if somebody's went through the ice, they have a number of effects that happen. So cold shock is when the body first experiences unexpected extreme cold water all over the body. If they're in there for a long time, then that's when it becomes really dangerous. The chances of hypothermia after a few minutes of in there are increased greatly. If there's a high wind, that is also a massive concern for us because by convection, the body is cooled rapidly.
All right, that's brutal though. I gotta ask: Has anyone ever passed away doing this? My guesses would be yeah. Man, like I would definitely need some chapstick out there with them cold winds. Jumping in that water. And could you imagine jumping in that cold water and then cold wind hitting you? Oh man, and I got sensitive teeth too. No.
Once you're able to survive, that is a good start. If you can't manoeuvre out here, it seriously hinders the output that you can have. So we like to concentrate a large chunk of our training towards mobility. It's won wars in the past, with the Finnish looking at their winter war back in the 40s, and going back thousands of years, it's always been mobility that's the issue.
I've been skied a few times. It does differ quite considerably. So I was quite confident coming out here. I quickly realised how much more difficult it is over this cross-country terrain.
The nature of the Norwegian coastline is quite unique. There's a lot of places that we can secretly access this high north from the coastline, a lot of hidden places. But we do need specialists to recce those areas prior to going in. So the shore reconnaissance teams of SRS, they do the beach recce prior to anyone else. So SRS are they're surveillance and reconnaissance squadron. So they're the forefront of 3 Commando Brigade, essentially the eyes and ears of the brigade. Again, filled predominantly with mountain leaders. They're the sort of pointiest end of the stick when it comes to 3 Commando Brigade.
For the United Kingdom, Norway is our closest Arctic partner. And whilst that interest has perhaps waxed and waned whilst other events have been occurring, there's little doubt now, with the Northern Sea route beginning to open up, and what we're seeing is increased competition, perhaps starting to emerge around the Arctic. Really our role is to help ensure that those threats do not materialise by being able to show the role the United Kingdom would play if those threats were to start to become manifest.
So we definitely...
It's really like Game of Thrones out there when Jon Snow, when they went to where was it? The North, where the wildlings was it? Where they were like the North. If you ever watch Game of Thrones, this what it's like. It's like they go on a train past the wall. I'm about to watch some Game of Thrones tonight because this making me think of it right now.
go heavy on the fight phase, because that's where the real difficulties are encountered, and that's where the development and experience is gained the most.
We had already done 2 weeks skiing and getting ourselves prepped for the final phase. It was just a little bit more difficult than putting all your tactical responsibilities, incorporating that into the basic stuff that you learned prior.
So the idea in a future conflict of small, agile commando teams at reach causing absolute mayhem will force them to deal with the problem, one way or another.
I bet that's the part they all look forward to, though. There's got to be, even though it's tough, there's got to be some fun parts here, like hopping on them four-wheelers or them snowmobiles, going up there and just firing like that. I'm sure somebody getting peace out of that. They, like he said, once you start moving, once you get moving, that's really key. So once you're able to, get yourself going and mentally get in there, you get in there and be one with your body, and I mean, you pretty much got it from there, right? Then when you get to this and they start firing, I know they just in the zone now. It's like, yeah, this is what we out here for. We here, boys. Like, let's do it. Whoa, the way that lights up the sky. That's got to be a sight to see in person. Hold on. That has got to be could you imagine that? Like, in the darkness out there and it just boom and everything light up. Wow.
These smaller teams will be able to blend into that background, cause the damage, and evaporate again. And that, for me, as a...
Look at his face. Look at his face. He's speaking. He's talking with passion. You could tell. He's talking with... Look at him.
These smaller teams will be able to blend into that background, cause the damage, and evaporate again. And that, for me, as a commando, is a genuinely exciting prospect.
I'm telling ya, for some reason when he talking, it's reminding me of like one of those kids that really love Call of Duty and like are very strategic in it. It's like that commando's like, yeah.
Blend into that.
And he's calm with it too, but you can tell he's like passionate about it.
Background, cause the damage, and evaporate again. And that, for me, as a commando, is a genuinely exciting prospect.
Wow. Royal Marines. Safe to say they ain't playing no games. They going where the Royal Marines, they go out where
wars.
They go out where Jon Snow and them at, man. They go past the ice wall in train. Like, really? No, these guys are. It's, as he said, like a rites of passage. So yeah, I can only imagine how many people look forward to getting through this just to say they were able to do it. I mean, whew.
career in the Royal Marines. If you take the worst case scenario, say a peer adversary has taken ground in the high north and 3 Commando brigades.
It just, when I see stuff like that, it does make me wonder, like, how they get through. You got to be a different type of tough mentally. I mean, like I said, just me walking to the store just now and the snow was pretty bad. I mean, I've been through some seriously bad snowy days, but this is a whole nother ball game to have to go and jump in that water. Oh, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like when they jumped in that freezing water. I mean, look at that. Look at that.
That everyone really affiliates to Norway in general, jumping in that ice cold water, getting the shock of your life.
The shock of your life. This is something that if you were in the Royal Marines and you have done this, that you will never, ever, ever forget. I'm the type of person though, like when I'm passionate about something, ain't nothing I can't do. I swear, like that right there. It's just when you love something and you love your lands and you love everything it stands for, being in the Marines, and there's nothing you won't do. You didn't come there to play. You already knew what it was before you got there. So, yeah, these guys, they're not playing. These guys are warriors, and that takes a lot of heart. A lot of heart. With that being said, that was the Royal Marines forging the Arctic Commando. I'm gonna look into earlier when the one man he was talking about the Finnish War. So I definitely want to look into that. I'm a YouTube that and see what's good with that. But with that being said, original link in the description. If you'd like more videos like this, definitely don't hesitate to hit that like, that subscribe, or that notification bell. And definitely leave some recommendations in the comments. And I'll be back with more soon. Much love.